Hi, I'm Derek, and in this video we're going to have a quick look at one of Xdebug's upcoming features. Say for example I have a little script here that processes a template file. I'm using a Zeta component template component, but it doesn't particularly matter what it is. The main issues is that templates are written not often in PHP code, such as my little example here. Outputting my title and then a loop over a set of elephant. And if it matches my current elephant, it says it adds the current class on the list item. Now, in order to debug this, you can't really, because these template files, like in many other variations, they get compiled to actual PHP files. Such as this one. In here I can set a breakpoint in case my elephant matches the current elephant, and then we can inspect some variables here. So let me show you that first. I'm just going to run the script. And it just runs now because I haven't started the debugger. In VS Code, I go to listen for debug connections and try again. Now indeed it stops here at the breakpoint, and I can inspect the elephant token, which is currently envis, and when it's the current elephant, which is the same value, that's why it's in the if statement. And then of course I can debug because this is a normal PHP file. However, obviously this isn't the file I'm actually editing. This is a compiled file, which in this case isn't particularly very hard, but it's still much more complicated than the original template file. So what if we could do the debugging directly in the template file? So I will remove the breakpoint here and run the rest of the script to make sure it finishes, where here it then shows the output. Now let me set a breakpoint in the template file itself. I set it again on the if statement, and now when I run the script, you can probably guess what happens now, which is nothing, because obviously this isn't the file that is being executed. And indeed, although the debug is listener, it doesn't stop anywhere. Now the feature that I'm currently working on is actually something that makes this work. So let me first enable this. The new feature is called path mapping. This sits behind a feature flag, but I'll likely enable that by default once the feature is ready. When I now run the script, it stops exactly inside the template file. And although it's a little bit tricky, I can still see all the variables that are in here, right? So the elephant token here is in the variable that the compile template uses called tElephant. And everything that comes in, which is done by the use statement, is still in its original object. For example, here I have the list of elephants that we passed in. But I can do the evaluations here. I can compare that the elephant is not the current elephant now, and then of course when I stop over, it jumps to the other side. Now when I click step over again, it actually stays on the same line, which is because in the compiled version, the ally, the elephant, and the other ally are three distinct echo statements on distinct lines. So at the moment, the step over functionality doesn't quite realize that it needs to actually go to the next statement in the template file, but that is something that I'm still working on. But in any case, I can now debug right here and run the script. I disable the breakpoint and then I do run to cursor, and that should also work. And then it stops on this line. Of course, obviously the output now contains everything that's going to be sent to the browser, or in my case the command line, but you can see that this works. Now the way how this works is that when the template system compiles the template file, it also creates a mapping file between the lines in the original template and what is used in a compiled template. And I can show you that how this looks like. These files are stored in the .xdebug file, and in this case it's called elephant-list.map, which matches my template file. And it looks something like this. You set a remote prefix, which is where my compiled templates are being stored, the local prefix where the templates are stored, and then in there you get to see a file line mapping. So this says that if Xdebug sees these lines, what it really wants to see is this other line in the original template file. Now this file format isn't the most optimal yet, but you can see where this is going. In the next few months I'm going to continue working on this feature and then release it as part of Xdebug 3.5. I hope you find this interesting, and I'll see you next time.